Well, we appreciate everybody here who can make it, especially those that have showed up multiple times. Always great to see new faces as well. Moontower Society is a passion project amongst several people here in the Austin community. We had gotten feedback from people in your seats a couple years ago that were interested, I'd call it in the world of just like early stage company building, that they wanted to learn more and they didn't really have necessarily like an outlet to connect with people in the community in a way that they hoped for. So rallied up some people and we have a pretty good network. There's a lot of representatives from the investing side, some founders, some service providers, and what we're hoping to do is to get really interesting people in front of y'all so you could have an opportunity to learn from them, ask questions, potentially build a relationship with them, so you can figure out what it is that gets you going and excited about what you want to do with your lives on the professional front post-school. So that's who we are. We have newsletter, social media, website. Please follow, like, subscribe, all the things. And tell your friends if you enjoy this. The more student turnout we get, the more that we're able to go find really good, interesting people like Andy to come speak to y'all. So with that, Andy is our speaker today. I'll let him introduce himself, tell you a little of his story, and then we'll get into his career path, how he got into the early stage world, what he's found and learned along his journey, and then we'll get into the AI native stuff, which is really, I think, going to be super interesting for everyone to kind of get Andy's perspective building that world.
Sweet. Hey everybody, I'm Andy. I'm actually feeling really old. It's been a long time since I've been in on that side of this conversation. So really excited to be here. My name's Andy Keil. I've been in town since 2012. I moved here right after college, so that ages me. And most recently started a company called Dreambase AI. A year and a half ago now, and the world is moving very fast, so it feels like about 5 years from now. And the world's changing, and thinking about coming out of college into where we are today is a little bit terrifying for me, and I'm actually curious to learn from y'all how it feels on your end, and what you're learning in practicum and in the classes versus what you're seeing outside and like in real life. I don't know if y'all are on Twitter or how you're following along, maybe TikTok. I don't TikTok. But super excited to be here. I'd love for this to be a conversation between us, but with y'all as well. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand. I'm an open book. I'll probably share more than I probably should, especially since it's recording. But yeah, please speak up.
Yeah, this is meant to be interactive. We'll get the conversation going, but feel free to jump in anytime. Our experience is once that starts, people tend to just start to chime in. But we have topics to discuss that can carry us the whole way. So I think the easiest place to start though is your journey. Yeah. How have you gotten where you're at? What has attracted you to early stage building, considering all the other opportunities that you've had?
Yeah, I've kind of always been biased towards entrepreneurship. I bought and sold things on eBay back when that was still an arbitrage play, and kind of always predisposed to wanting to start a company. I think I got really caught up, and this is maybe relevant for some of y'all, I got really caught up in like, what is the idea going to be? And I never really had it, I never felt the pull or the thing that was gonna make me go all in. So I ended up kind of in this like really close to founder's role, which was product and head of product. So I spent basically a decade working very closely with founders and helping them through the early stage thrash to product market fit, what's often called 0 to 1. And I kind of love the chaos. It's really, really fun. It's really difficult. Every day is different. There's no playbook. Especially when I got into it, there was no like, here's how to do it and what the role entails. So a lot of trial by fire and just learning by doing. But today it's really, really interesting. So head of product, my most recent role, I was a head of product at a company called QuotaPath, which is a Series B company. And I told the founders on my way in that this is founder training. Like, I'm ready to go be a founder, find the thing. And this is one of those like right place, right time moments where Gen AI just happened to be coming out and getting really good. Not just like, oh, it's interesting, I'll play with it, I'll have it write some things for me, but like, oh, holy shit, this can code an entire app and I can just prompt it with thoughts in my head. The the particular product that kind of melted my brain was Claude Artifacts. Has anybody played with that, or is anybody familiar with what that is? I can also explain it. Okay, so Claude Artifacts was the very first thing that came out that presented the code that it was writing. So it wasn't just, okay, here's the code and you read it. It was, here's the code and it's rendered right next to it. So all of a sudden I had a full feedback loop where I could go build apps or mini apps on my own. And that was really the impetus for starting Dreambase, where my co-founder and I, he was on the more technical side of things and he was already working at an AI company. It was just kind of like, hey, it's not gonna get good, it's good now. And that was the moment where we were like, oh shit, we quit our jobs, like overnight.
Yes, it is very real. Before we're gonna get more into the AI piece of the puzzle in your journey, what are some of the things that like drew to entrepreneurship in building relative to some of the other opportunities? What's been some of the highlights, maybe some of the lowlights in that journey?
Oh man, there's so many. It's always a roller coaster, but I think the thing for me that comes up in like conversations with business coaches is when they like get at like what is the thing that drives you, and a lot of it is just freedom. Like I don't do well with constraints and you have to do this because I said so, or play in the sandbox or between these lines. And I think the beautiful part and terrifying part of entrepreneurship is that there's no rules. Like you can make it up as you go. And like when you're working for somebody else, like there's obviously constraints, but when you start out on your own, all of a sudden the world's kind of your oyster, and it's way harder than working for somebody else and just being in a swim lane. Like just before this, I had to run payroll and fix some things that were wrong, and that was stressful because I literally had 20 minutes to get it out the door or nobody was gonna get paid on time. But it's way more freeing and way more fun. So I don't know if that fully answered the question, but.
One question I always like to ask someone that's got the experience that you've got is, if you could tell your younger self like one thing.
Oh man.
Like impart that your younger self, one piece of knowledge about that journey, what would it have been?
Just keep going. There's a double-edged sword here, because you wanna like have the answer of like, here's everything we learned, like now you have the knowledge, go do it. But the fact of the matter is that if I had that knowledge, something else would be hard and would be more difficult. So I think with anything, especially with entrepreneurship, the repetition is the hard part. Being consistent, showing up, doing the thing, we'll talk about this later probably, but community has been a really big part of how I've gotten to where I am. And so things like this, Moontower Society, other events around town, I've built a relatively strong network through consistency and showing up and helping people, doing things before you're asked to do them, helping other people out before they ask for a favor. Like it's like, I don't know, I think that's kind of par for the course. Keep going is maybe lame, but I don't think there's any like tricks.
And he's got a pretty impressive experiential journey through the community building piece of the early stage ecosystem, and I think that's something we should definitely explore later too, because I think it's been really impactful in my professional development. It's not something you necessarily get a lot of exposure in the classroom, but is really valuable, especially if you know how to do it well. Last one I got before we're kind of getting the AI stuff. What is the biggest misconception you had about entrepreneurship that was proven to be wrong after you got it?
Proven to be wrong. So I felt really, like I always felt like I wanted to be the CEO, and I thought that was like a glamorous thing, and it sucks. Like it's kind of shitty. Like you just gotta shovel shit all the time, and everything that's wrong is your fault, whether it's somebody on your team or not. You just have to, you're like constantly firefighting, and there's no end to the to-do list. I felt like in prior roles, product is hard, head of product is really hard. But there's always like, you felt like you got to a point where you checked everything off the list. And with like sitting in the CEO seat, like right now is just reviewing, like I have 10 things that are urgent that I have to figure out how to get done between now and Friday. Like that kind of blows.
It's very real. With all those responsibilities, I think it's a good time to like start talking about Dream. And to your point of that moment, talking to people in your orbit of, hey, this isn't in the future, like this is now.
Yeah.
And what was the journey like of we're quitting our jobs, we're starting a new business, we're using these tools. Like walk us through about stepping out the door, out to finding the idea and starting to get going with it.
Yeah, I'll maybe go back a while and kind of thread a few things together. So community's always been big. I actually met my co-founder in 2013 at a Dribble meetup, which none of you probably know what Dribble is.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, but that's because we're old. We're really old. And that was like a really cool, it was where like the best designers showed off what they were making and creating, specifically product designers and illustrators. And anyway, that was kind of like the heyday of, I don't know, one of the heydays of Austin tech. And there's a core group of people that were showing up at Dribble meetups, and like there was really cool South by stuff happening that felt much more organic than it does now. And so I met my co-founder there by tweeting at him, like kind of crazy, but I was literally just like, hey, I missed you at the meetup. Somebody said that we should meet. Let's hang out. And we did. And let's call it 6 months later, we tried to start a company then. So this is 2014, I think. And we tried to build Slack before Slack, which was kind of hilarious. We called it Silo, and it looked almost exactly like Slack. We got about 3 weeks in, and Slack launched. And I remember texting the co-founders at the time. I was like, "Hey guys, I think we lost. Like we're not going to beat Butterfield in Slack." They're like, "No, we're going to keep going." And 2 weeks later, they're like, "Okay, they won." And so I got kind of share that just because we've been on this journey of trying to start a company together for a very long time. And through it, as Gen AI came out, we kind of started, I don't know, when I joined QuotaPath as head of products, I told those co-founders that it was my last job, it was co-founder training for me. My buddy and I, Keil, my co-founder, started jumping into what's the next thing gonna be. So we gave ourselves maybe like 2 years to hang out and like noodle on ideas, figure some stuff out. We built some dumb stuff that we threw away. We built a really cool app that would turn you into like superhero cards, think Magic the Gathering style. You could just upload a photo and like prompt some things, and it created a card. And we were like, oh, this is dumb. Like this is not the company. We're not gonna go make a bunch of money off this, but it's an idea. It's in the direction of like getting us to work on some stuff. And we built on a technology called Dreambase, which I'm proudly showing here. We love Dreambase. And it made the like creation of the back end and building software really easy. Does anybody in here build software? Is anybody playing with Lovable or Bolt or V0? Okay, write all of those down and just go play around. It's literally anything in your head. If you've ever been like, I wish I had an app that could do this, you can literally ask for it and it will build it. It's
I did our website on Replit in about 15 minutes.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Has everybody seen the site?
It's not bad.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm just gonna say it's pretty good. So we worked through like, let's call it 4 iterations of different ideas on top of Dreambase. And the new tech stack is crazy. It's made it possible. If we were to try and start Dreambase even 3 years ago, we would have needed a team 3 times the size of this. And today we're 4 people. And we raised just shy of $4 million.
Things are changing.
Things are changing very fast.
Tell us about the business. Like, what was the idea?
Process? This pains me to say, but so if nobody's familiar with Lovable, so this doesn't land quite the same way, but look it up. They are one of the fastest growing companies to date. And we built Lovable before Lovable. This is kind of like the Slack before Slack thing. But this is also where we knew we were kind of like onto something. We're able to like see what's happening, spot the patterns, and be like, call the puck. And be like, we're gonna skate there. So we built Lovable before Lovable. I didn't have the words to go capitalize the business. I didn't know how to talk about it in front of investors. I was still like a little raw and clunky and like didn't have the talk track down. It was also like very open-ended. If you look at Lovable is basically like type some words and build any app that you want. And that's like kind of crazy. You have to go, it takes the right type of entrepreneur to go raise money on something as open-ended as that. And so we built that. We couldn't quite navigate. We had people throwing like lots of money at us, 6-figure contracts, but it was like, again, it felt much more like a services business. So we we dialed back from that and then landed on, again, we really like Supabase. It's easy to build on. And we were like, well, what if we just focus on Supabase itself? There's something probably there. And Supabase is another company that's on this hockey stick growth. I think they just got valued at $5 or $6 billion in their latest round. And they went from like 2 million developers in April to now I think there are like 6 or 7 million developers, which is kind of bonkers to think about. And so we just really we thought about what are the tools, what are the pains that we've had over the course of our career, and being at QuotaPath in the boardroom. Maybe I guess y'all have done this in some classes, but think about a really big report going into the boardroom and having to gather a bunch of data from a lot of different places and then present it. Internal to companies, there's like a data team, and they're the ones that's responsible for what's called ETL, and just gathering all the data around the company, storing it in one place, and then they're the person you go to whenever you want answers out of it. It's very painful. So if 8 of the executives all have questions before the board meeting and they need reports built and generated, it just takes way too long.
Yep.
And so we were like, how do we solve that? I think there's a way to solve the understanding of how businesses are operating built on top of the new data stack. And so it's Supabase. Again, this won't make sense to a lot of you at this point, but there's also Vercel, Next.js, there's Resend. There's a whole bunch of new tools that make this kind of, everybody talks about it as vibe coding. Kind of hate that term, but it's evolved past that. But we're now in a world where you can literally ask for the thing you want and it happens. We see this every day. People who have never coded, never taken CS classes, all they do is they're either on the product side, they're a designer, they're on the business side. This is maybe relevant for all of you. If you can deeply understand the problem and describe it and talk about it, you can go build software. That's fucking crazy. For me to be able to do, I'll get to you in 1 second. For me to be able to do that, I had to recruit a designer. I had to recruit at least one engineer, often a front end and a back end, just to get what's in my head out so I could see it and touch it and put it in front of customers. Now you can do that in 30 minutes.
It's wild.
So I wanted to ask, with agentic AI kind of being this whole new thing, I know there's a lot of rave around OpenClaw.
Oh yeah.
You can set up, 20 agents. Right? If
Yeah.
you have a Mac mini that runs 20 agents, and you have another Mac mini that runs another 20 agents. I think some people have said that there's definitely a chance that someone can start a company all on their own, and they're the only one running it with all these agents kind of supporting the entire company, and maybe being the next let's say $1 billion company, right? So
Yeah.
it just starts it all and bifurcates it all. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think the timeline to that will take, and if it's reasonable?
Yeah, I think you and I maybe even talked about this. I think it's definitely possible. I see that as a very lonely existence. If you're the only person that's responsible for the weight of what happens in a startup, it's awful.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
But again, it is possible, and there are people that are capable of it. I worry about them, and they're not the people that I would want to co-found with, but that teach their own. I think it's really, when things get hard, having that other person to lean on, or the other couple people to lean on, incredible. Because your employees have no idea what's going on, nor should they. I have apologized to all of the co-founders, or all of the prior founders that I have worked for, because I just didn't know. I had no idea all of this stuff happening above the surface, or maybe below the iceberg. I don't know what metaphor I'm reaching for, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's really hard to manage. And I think let me come back to why OpenClaw is exciting though, because there's a bunch of dumb stuff that you can hand off, and then no one has to deal with it. The painful stuff that nobody wants to deal with. I'm trying to think of some of the best examples I've seen.
I'm getting one set up this weekend because I need basically an assistant.
Yeah.
I have 4 different inboxes.
That's terrifying. Are you going to give it access to your email in your calendar? I would never. That's
I'm
crazy.
going to.
That's insane.
But it's a pain point enough for me where if I feel like I can save 5 to 8 hours a month, plus get some benefit of my execution,
there are places to use it, but email, I'm so scared of
that. There's a lot of your risk tolerance on it. I'm scared of the financial account stuff.
Yeah,
I've heard stories.
Never.
about people like spinning up these agents, and they're like, give it $200 in like a crypto wallet and be like, pay for yourself.
Totally.
And then it'll go on Polymarket and stuff and start trading. And it's really wild, but kind of circling back to the idea, I think one of the things I'd like to get Andy's more deeper perspective on, but the general direction I think's right. I don't know if anyone knows really how big these things can get with how small of a team. We talked about this before, like a week or two ago. There's an investor out of Utah named Bryce Roberts. He's got this firm called NDVC. Bryce is a very, very smart, interesting guy. And he's been talking about this for probably about 3 or 4 years. He's like, you're going to see $1 billion revenue company with 10 people. And I thought it was like, it seems a little aggressive, but like that seems far. And I'm like, is this going to happen next year? Like, it doesn't feel very far away.
And then to follow up on that, I think there's a recent Substack post by Citrini Research that.
That's doomsday shit.
Oh man, yeah, you get me triggered on that one too. That one, the best part about that is they somehow live as a firm in this journey.
Did anybody else read that article? Do y'all know the article he's talking about? Okay.
It's a investment kind of like research firm, basically. It's a nice thought exercise. They basically say the year is 2028. AI has outperformed everyone's wildest expectations, but instead of maybe the more positive future, it tells a scarier future, particularly when it comes to people's livelihood opportunities. I think it's a fun thought experiment. We could argue about like why some of these things are pretty silly, but I do think kind of like the big picture though.
It's worth paying attention to. That single article wiped out like $8 billion of market value.
More.
So it's kind
Easily
of
more.
Yeah, kind of wild.
Maybe like 80.
Yeah,
It's a lot bigger.
Yeah, well, I know like Anthropic's CEO came out with a statement I think yesterday that helped push up the markets a lot, like showing that agentic AI is not gonna like replace as of now. It's gonna be more like a sandwich, like a human sandwich. I think is what he said. Like human verification is still needed and necessary in the near future. So that like kind of debunks like real Substack.
Well, there's
Any
a higher
thoughts?
there's a higher level game being played, but I'll spare the room for that for a second. He was also the person that said that like no engineers are going to have jobs in a short period of time. So it's very funny for him to be coming back around and manipulating the market back up. So I'll just say.
A lot of his investors are like these companies that are like being sold off. So
Yeah.
that's why.
What are your thoughts just in general, like especially like starting the business and like you've gone through a couple iterations of startups, like maybe get some like granular examples of like what has changed, like what did you used to need that you now defer to these tools, like how do you think about what you can accomplish as a company and what are the resources you expect to like develop and build in the business to execute what you guys want to and just run with that.
Yeah, I think you already kind of touched on team size. Again, like where we sit, like where we're trying to go and the amount that we raise, like we would have probably been aiming for like 15 people right now. We're aiming for half that, maybe even less, depending on, we're like hiring as we go. I've always been on the hiring side of things. I've never liked kind of putting people through coding tests or any sort of like time trials, and I've 180'd on that. We're literally, we have an engineer that's going through a work trial yesterday and today, paid work trial, always pay people. But now we're like, show us that you can do the work, because it's possible to show how good you are or not good you are in 2 days. That was never possible before. I think, so team size will stay a little bit smaller. The amount of capital we need to get to where we're going, quite a bit smaller. I think the coolest thing, or the thing that not everybody is talking about, is that you kind of have, everybody has a built-in thought partner. Like I ask AI if I'm directionally correct on things all the time. One of the keys of AI is you can't like tell it exactly what you're thinking because it's a little sycophantic and it'll just be like, oh my God, you're so smart, that's great, like, keep doing that.
Yep.
You kind of have to operate at a little bit of a higher level and be like, hey, of all the different, here's the information, like what would you do? And then when it reinforces your gut or what you wanted to do, that feels really good. Or if it like is the exact opposite of like, definitely don't do that, that also helps me look better or not look stupid.
Yep.
And then I don't know, I think like, I always got caught up I love the early stage, and so when team sizes start to get big, you get to like 25 people, everything changes. Like I get really excited that I can operate a company in that mode, maybe indefinitely. I don't know.
What are some of the things that you learned in the last 18 months or so with the new business about like what are the skills that now have different values, like both positive or negative, with all the different teams you've worked with in the past? Like how's that changed?
Let's see. So I can do way more than I could. My co-founder can do way more. We're like, I would call us almost full stack operators. Like in the past, you'd be siloed into like, this is the product co-founder, this is the technical co-founder, and then you like bring in people for marketing and sales and all these things. And I think we just talked about, flew the team to Mexico City for an offsite, and we were like, well, we're all kind of responsible for everything. We all talk to customers on the sales side of things. We all write blog posts and do DevRel or developer relations. We all market. We are all on social media. We're all making product decisions, and I'm getting out of the way and letting the engineers build and be more autonomous and have more agency in what we're building. It's kind of fascinating. Like remind me your question though. No, your original question.
Well, like what skills are more valuable?
The
what skills are less valuable?
Yeah,
and
so I think the hard part for this room is maybe that you're seeing a lot of, and I don't know is anybody applying or trying to get internships or get into the workforce now? 1, 2. How's it been so far?
Tough.
Say more. Why? Like, what's tough about it?
Well, just a lot of places aren't hiring as much as they used to for entry level,
Yeah.
especially.
Yep. I mean,
Experience. Like, there's a lot of jobs that just aren't really there anymore, it seems like.
yeah.
It's definitely different. So just kind of quick straw poll. Who is excited about the impact of AI on their professional trajectory?
50%.
Who is scared about it?
Yeah. over half the room. Yeah.
I think one of the things that the reality is, like, people have opinions on, they just don't know, is what's the back end of this look like? Because you could look through all these technological development swings in history where everyone just glooms and dooms about the economy and people find new stuff to do, but I'm always hesitant to say like this time feels different, but it feels a little different.
It's different.
What are the things you're thinking about, like on like what products you're creating and even your own like business of yourself, like the opportunities and threats of this stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a very existential question, but I think the proliferation of SaaS, and I don't know if y'all have studied much of this, but Benioff and Salesforce basically created software as a service and paying subscriptions for software, and then like started to own the market. And we got to a point in the like 5 years ago, what's called the ZIRP era, there's zero interest rate. We got to a point where like money was free, everybody was building like a very specific tool that you paid for, and everybody was like spending tens of thousands of dollars on SaaS software a month and then hiring a bunch of people to make all of that happen. And I think the interesting thing about AI is when you consolidate that down into just a data center that does it for you and like gets a similar level of quality, it's kind of hard to think through what the impact of that is going to be or how to like repurpose things. So I see a lot of SaaS companies are fucking terrified. Like if you look in the market, they're all trying to figure out how they kind of bolster themselves and do something that's not just what they've been doing, and everybody's racing, not just to like add AI, like bolt it onto the product like they were 2 years ago, but to like really try to figure out even new markets and be more defensible. And so what used to like, I'm trying to think the best metaphor for this, but if you were to take like the sales department, the sales software stack was maybe in some organizations like 30 different tools. Like that's crazy. That's a bunch of software for people to have to operate and understand on a day-to-day basis. Where I think everything is going now, and where I'm watching the companies that are starting to succeed in the new AI native era, is they're starting to move a lot more toward what I would call consolidation and like owning the entire department. Like what are all the jobs that happen in that department, and do them in one piece of software or in one place. And so when I like zoom out and think about that for me or for all of y'all, I would be thinking about like, how do you understand the entire job function and get really good at the things that need to happen, not necessarily pieces of software. Like when I came out, it was all about, or when I got out of college, it was the different pieces. I was actually, this is kind of funny, I was a photographer. So I needed like Lightroom and to know how to edit and manipulate photos. Like now you can literally just have AI do it for you. Whether you're having AI create the photo itself or the image itself or having it edit. So the people that are going to win are the ones who deeply understand problems and have taste, because AI doesn't have taste. You need to know how to like get what you want out of it.
Yeah. So those of you that are kind of scared about maybe your prospects with this, like, what are y'all doing about that? Just kind of a curiosity for me. Like, are you guys like diving into this, just hoping it's more of the same and the fears aren't valid? Like, how do y'all think about it?
I mean, I just try to like stay up to date with the technology to be as useful as possible in the workplace. But like, I was just on a project, and then the project just ended because they found a technology to replace me. So it's kind of difficult, especially being an undergrad, because like just getting on the project is difficult, or like getting an internship with the workforce right now, and then keeping that position. Because if they can replace you with technology, they just will. So I think there are certain strengths like communication, organization, like personality hire, as they call it. Like there are certain things that you can bring to a team that AI can't. So it's good to stay on top of those.
Yeah.
Or just showing initiative and the willingness to grow and learn, because not every person has that.
Yeah, I think the other, maybe to say it more directly, AI needs to be managed. So if you come in knowing how to manage AI, that's a huge strength. And I think you're gonna see, like, junior meant like fresh out of college, but that's gonna get abstracted away, and that just means doesn't necessarily have the skill set yet. So if you can start to master the skill set, people are gonna care a whole lot less about like where you are in your like years of tenure.
One of the things I think it's also good to talk about, because outside of maybe running like smaller headcount businesses and like the speed, what are some of the things you've noticed that like this is like open you up to do, if any, or like that you're most excited about even if it's not here yet? Because even my own personal experimentation, just going through, it's like, whoa, like all this stuff I didn't like, I can just get it off, and it takes me about a quarter of the time, and I'm gonna do other things I like more.
Writing, for sure. So I don't actually let the LLMs write for me, but I get my thoughts out, that first draft, and then the AI makes it better. That's one thing that I think is just the obvious use case, and I'm sure y'all are, I would hope you're all using it that way right now, because it's kind of magic. But also just, I don't record, like I have a notebook there that I started when we started the company. That's like a year and a half. I would have gone through probably 4 notebooks by now, and so I don't handwrite any of my notes. Like there's a piece of software called Granola that records all of my meetings. It knows what's important to me. It watches for keywords and some other stuff. And then it gives me a readout and a summary that I can just share with my team in Slack. And there's no extra effort on my end. Every once in a while, if it's important and I don't want AI to like potentially get something wrong, I'll edit it, but I just ship that out. That's not none of this is very exciting. I don't think there's a lot. I mean, we build the product with AI and we do a lot of really cool stuff there. But the biggest boons or like things that I get out of it are really mundane and just taking over the mundane tasks that I didn't want to do. Email replies is one of them. Like I very rarely write a whole email reply myself. I'm just like, send this, bang.
Yeah. How are things going from like the customer side with the business? Like what have you observed about people that are using what you guys are building, their excitement, their apprehension? What is your learnings and perspective about this new generation of like AI from the ground up products and how people interface and think about that?
This is maybe my favorite part. And back to the prior thing, things that I get to spend more time on that I didn't necessarily before AI. I just have so much more time to spend with customers. Like I can literally get on calls. I can spend all day with customers because I'm not like having to transcribe or handwrite all of the notes, share them out. Like I can literally just have back-to-back meetings. I can share new prototypes. Get like right now, a project we're starting tomorrow. We have, from the Mexico City offsite, we have 3 different prototypes of a new onboarding experience that we're going to share. Instead of us in the old world, we would have like sat down and tried to like find the best version of it before we ever put it in front of customers. And now we're just going to spend Friday getting in front of probably 10 different customers and finalizing it. And so we'll go from idea to in the product in less than a week.
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But your question that I lost track of was
Well, like what's been like customer feedback?
Customer
their excitement,
So
their apprehension.
I think
Because like you're going down the
exactly,
like, oh man, I don't want to put my emails on one of these things where I'm like, I just need help.
Yeah, no, I think what we're seeing now is like y'all like I don't know. Does anybody in this room want to be a founder? Got 1,
2, 3.
handful. Okay, some founders. There's so much pain in your future, but it's gonna be fun. Keep going. The customers now, like just the whole world has changed, the stack has changed. People who never would have been able to start businesses are able to start businesses. They're able to do it as a side hustle. Y'all should challenge yourself to see if you can build something on your own and start making some money. Like there's so many opportunities out there right now. But I think there's so, like on the customer side, they're so excited about the new way of building. They don't know in a past life, and again, like the data stack, the BI stack, like that's, y'all probably aren't familiar with that yet, but there used to be, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on data engineering between tooling and salaries and just people to manage stuff and a whole bunch of time baked in. People excited about the new stack have no idea that they even need software like this or that it's like something that they can have. So as soon as they see it, it's just like, it explodes their brain and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing, I want it. And so we're like right now figuring out, this is like one really fun thing, especially the business folks in the room, like business model is everything. Like we're trying to figure out now, do we want to go and own the whole market and be super cheap and make something that everybody has access to? Or do we want to be a little bit more high end and have a fewer number of customers, but they pay us way more money and then we're able to be much more hands-on? And those are like the exciting problems that we get to test and experiment with in ways that we could have never before I was at my prior company. Would take us 6 months to roll out new pricing. We've changed pricing 5 times since we released Dreambase.
How many times do you think you've like changed the core product since you all started?
Oh man, it kind of. I mean, there's different ways to slice.
I know there's
this.
different ways to slice this.
Let's
But
call
like
it.
think about it all the times, like how many different iterations or versions, if you will.
Let's call it. Since we started the company, we had 2 major products that we built, had customers, and threw away. So we pivoted to Dreambase in April of 25, and that's what we fundraised on. And there have been. We just shipped probably the 3rd major version of Dreambase.
In your prior like infrastructure existence, how long would that have taken?
Oh my God, like we would still be on the first. We would still be understanding if people liked what we built. We would have spent 2 years building something that we thought was cool, that behind the scenes we like would have conversations, designers would spend a bunch of time designing it, engineers would take 6 months to build it. We'd get it in front of customers, they'd be like, yeah, I kind of like it, and we'd be like, okay, that's good news, we'll keep going. and I think the beauty of AI is that you can just set, when you can build faster, you can set a higher bar for what's good.
Which is awesome. Yeah, y'all feel free to jump in. I know, I feel like I've been driving the bus here. what do you think you would be doing if you were in college right now with this stuff?
I mean, I'm heavily biased here, but I would set up OpenClaw on things that don't matter, so there's no security risk. Get really good at that. And OpenClaw is unlikely to be the winner now that it's been acquired by OpenAI for a stupid amount of money that I don't think has been officially disclosed, but understand the underlying mechanics of how AI is working and how it can be applied, and there's so many organizations who are never going to take the time to train all of their people how AI works. So if you come out and you're like, hey, I know all of this stuff and here's how I can optimize stuff that you don't want to do. That's actually the biggest thing that I would do. That was my entry point into my career, was sitting with people, shadowing them, like finding somebody that would give me an opportunity and taking stuff off their plate that they didn't want to do. But I automated that with me just being better at software than them. And now you can kind of even abstract that away from yourself. You can set up an agent in a workflow and do it once, and then it's done, but you get all the credit for it. So I would spend my time being a nerd.
Yeah, and setting up
For sure.
OpenClaw bots, give them $100 and see if they can.
OpenClaw, yeah,
Arbitrage stuff on the
best
internet.
money you can spend. Actually, somebody should set up Zach's OpenClaw for him. And
I was a bunch of friends were talking to me about that last night and debating the Mac Mini versus Cloud choice on that.
yeah, I would put it in the cloud.
Yeah, that was the consensus.
Yeah.
But it's super fun stuff to think about. So kind of with like the end cap here, one thing that you have invested a lot of time and energy in and gotten a lot out of, if you're even like touching your founder story, is community building.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I wish I knew better as an undergrad was just like the power of connection and networks.
Man, that would have been such a better answer.
Yeah, I got much better at it in graduate school, and even still, I feel like I don't do it well enough or enough of it. But I was wondering if you could share a little bit about, some of your experiences in like building, creating, cultivating communities, what you've observed from individuals like yourself or others that are kind of these, the hub of the hub and spoke of these groups, and why it can be really impactful for your career.
Oh, I've got a perfect story for this. So first and foremost, y'all are already good news. You're a part of a community. You're here. Moontower Society is a very cool opportunity that I wish I had more access to when I was a student. So, how many people's first time?
Awesome.
Okay, your challenges come next time. These are the people in this room. Spend time with them. Especially if you're here not just for extra credit. Maybe like build some shit together. Like take away, like go look at like Level Bolt V0. Like try and make something and like make it a project a little bit.
Yeah, that's part of our goal, is to get y'all to meet each other, especially from other degrees and backgrounds, so you can take some of this time and freedom you have as a student to try to mess around and find out what you like.
Yeah, I can go on and on about all the different impacts of community, but for me, the most impactful is the first check, the first $500,000 that was invested in us was through somebody that was very active in the Techstars community, which I ran a program here over a decade ago, and I made a couple phone calls, and in 2.5 weeks had that first check. And that's really just the power of community. That was a few phone calls and a text. And it's kind of wild that things can work that way, but you give yourself all the unfair advantage that you can, and like be good to people, like invest in other people is probably the best thing that you can do. Find out who's good, who's actually showing up and wants to do the work, and keep those people close.
Yeah. What are some of the surprise benefits you got out of being someone who was like a driver of keeping pieces of the community together?
Oh man, yeah. I think like almost every single job that I got was not because I was the most qualified person or that like I had a great resume, or it was almost all of them were right place, right time. I knew someone. Yep. Doors open. You can say that like unfair advantage. That's like the name of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's, I think, something that try to impart as much as I can, like go out and build connections. And one of the things that I think is really interesting, especially if we start to automate a lot of this white collar work away. We were joking about there's this meme on the internet that's like yappers will inherit the earth because if you can level the field and all the technical knowledge and talent, like those that are good at building and maintaining relationships have a stronger relative edge.
The people side.
Than in the past. So I think that is highly important for everybody, and we're hoping to try to help facilitate that in different ways going forward. You know, we have these gatherings, and hopefully we get some experimentation with different types of formats, things like that.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be impactful for y'all, and we get a lot of joy and opportunity in that. Before.
I wanted to ask, like, with all of the advancements in AI, when do y'all think we should be seeking funding for our company now?
That's a great question.
This is a really good question because you can give the founder side, I'll give the investor side.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, there's this, again, Zachary, cover yours, but sooner rather than later, like as fast as possible. Like if you can go from, it depends on how long it takes you to have conviction in the idea, but if it's the thing that you're gonna go all in and spend 10 years on, talk to people. Like tell everyone that you can, like spend as much time as you can on it. The advancement of AI, like you can have a prototype in a couple nights. Like you can get the thing out there.
Yep.
Start building the team. Like it's probably not going to be just you. You're probably going to pull in some other experts. Go to meetups. Go talk to, do pitch competitions, and just really like put yourself out there as like a person that is going to start a company. And then I think before you do a like concentrated raise and say I am raising money necessarily, like meet people, but I'm not raising is very funny.
Yeah.
But that works.
It does.
And then you basically stack everything up, and then when you are ready to raise and you've collected a bunch of people who could potentially give you money, you go speed run it and do it in like 2 weeks.
I think one of the things that's exciting, like if I were to put myself on y'all's shoes, it took me a couple days being like non-technical to like figure out some of the infrastructure I needed to get together, and honestly like the Cloudflare user experience was the hardest thing to navigate, which is funny in the grand scheme of things. But you can get a proof of concept together really quick, and you don't even really need to be that technical. What's really like exciting about that is like I have more of an investing background, and there are people that will just give you money because of who you are and because of a relationship with you and the belief that you're going to do something cool. But most investors, especially if they manage other people's money, are going to like see something. And not just like a PowerPoint, but like something that even kind of works, even if it's clunky and has bugs, but they kind of want to see that you can like put something together. One, it's not just all talk, but two, like kind of get some experience of seeing it in action. So what is really cool is it is so easy to do that now.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to have like a technical person help you. Like in the grand scheme of things, like it is very behooving you to partner with someone maybe that has some of those skills.
Yeah.
Because depending on what you're gonna do, there's some stuff that you need to solve potentially that isn't quite just like, I'm just gonna put it in the cloud and just like, I think this is right. Like, especially when it involves like data security and some of these other more technical challenges, but you can go and do that MVP. You could probably even get some users depending on what you're doing and get like some money in, which is like really
on
like
Reddit. Yeah.
you put like you can get it a little bit farther along with less, which then the fun part and part of like what Andy was talking about is these companies in theory should need less money, even though some companies are behaving like we talked about in a different way that is opposite to that. So it'll be very interesting to see where like things land, but you can do more with less, especially in like the very early days, to prove it out and build trust and confidence from investors. And then that could allow you a higher chance of success to go get a larger pool of resources to then build out the team that you need to execute on whatever it is that you're building. So I think it's very exciting. So I actually agree with Andy. It's like it's a lot sooner than it was before because you can get farther with less and you need less money. So it's pretty interesting. Like I get excited about it.
I would just piggyback on that because your question was like, how soon should you talk to an investor, get your idea in front of them and try and raise money? And the thing that everybody told me that I didn't like always take to heart, but like you have to build a relationship with these people. You're asking them for money. So the sooner you kind of put a flag in the ground and say, here's who I am, here's what I'm excited about, here's what I'm building, and you start to build that rapport and that relationship, you're going to change your idea. Like everything's going to be different, from year 1 to year 5, and maybe you don't raise money from them till year 5, but if they've known you for 5 years, that is worth so much more than trying to come in fresh or a cold start to somebody and like get them excited in a really short period of time.
And I think you can, the reality is like Andy and I are placed lives and career where it's easier to go find capital.
Yeah.
Like we just have more relationships and things like that.
We're old.
But yeah, we're old, we're washed. But when I think about myself, me being 22, and it's still really hard, but like if you could get a certain number of small resources, maybe it's $5,000 or $10,000, like that can actually move the needle on some stuff that you're trying to experiment, to like show. And I think that isn't lost if it doesn't go where you hope, because you're getting a lot of repetitions of doing that. And I have even found, just even with this, like going from 0 to 1, like that's something you kind of have to learn. It's not really something you experience in a textbook. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I'm sure Andy's got thoughts on this too. Like, I think it's very rare that most people's first idea is the idea.
Yeah.
That they go to try to like execute on. Like those I think are very lucky people, but I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, we're 3 ideas beyond the one that we got excited and quit our jobs over.
And that's this company.
Yeah. And that, exactly.
So I think like if you are like serious and interested about this, because I think one of the things that's like interesting is, especially if maybe if like jobs are going away, like one thing you can do is like create your own job, right? Like that's a different door to walk through.
Yeah.
And I think it's also easier to do than ever before, which is like the exciting part of it.
Like, to follow up on that, I've already built an app before.
Yeah.
But we had to build it for class, but like I was the one that ended up like building it, and then someone else like went over how much money we would like ultimately need to launch and stuff like that, and it looked like we would need less than $10,000.
Yeah.
Which really is nothing, like y'all know, and that would be if we bootstrapped the entire thing, and that doesn't include like marketing costs. So how much would y'all think it would actually cost to like launch an app like that? Because it doesn't seem that expensive.
Depends what you're doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a loaded question to some extent.
This is just like a game.
Yeah.
That's probably not much. It's probably less than $5,000. I don't know.
Yeah, it's mostly operating costs, right? So as long as the people working on it are willing to work for free or without salary, and only for equity, like the actual costs of serving a game or like running a game is pretty minimal these days. So like, and that's even in the realm of like, I would just go friends and family and find somebody that's willing to, like if you're excited about that, get started.
Yeah.
And I think you can find that pretty easy.
Yeah. If you started like a robotics company, that's different, but.
Yeah.
No, this has been awesome, Andy. We were super grateful for your time. Any parting thoughts before, last question actually maybe first, and then Andy's kind of like parting thoughts about what it's like building in this era and lessons from his career. All right, gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, again, just
nuggets of wisdom.
jump in and get good at these tools because they're not going away, and you're in a much more defensible position if you can command them. And keep going.
Awesome. Well, Andy, thanks for coming. This is awesome. Appreciate you sharing your time, your perspective, your knowledge, your wisdom, your scars.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see if y'all get after it and try to do something. And we're here to also help and support and facilitate as best we can as a group. So
Sweet.
thanks for coming, and we'll see y'all again.
Thanks, all.